Well, this is going to be a hot topic and one which I'm sure there's a lot of outrage everywhere. So I'm just going to preface this with please bear with me. I'm trying to process this too because last night was one of the wildest things I've ever seen on the Tim Pool show with Kanye West. So, of course, storming out with Milo Yiannopoulos and Nick Fuentes. And I don't have anything against any of these people. I've actually supported all of them over the years. I'm like all of them. I have met Milo personally, the others I have not. And so it's kind of hard to parse out on that level. But this is just what I think about what is transpiring and who the winners and losers are of this short term and long term. So take it with a grain of salt, and I hope you'll hang out here and enjoy the channel. And don't blame me. All right. My name is John Delarose. If you're new here, I am a #1 best-selling author, an award-winning comic creator. I actually used to write articles for Milo Yiannopoulos, believe it or not, back in the old days. And so now I write for Bounding Into Comics and pretty much only focus on pop culture because that's really where I'm more interested in than politics. And this is my new fantasy novel. It's called The Demon's Eye. It is a Christian fantasy about a man who has to really overcome a lot of troubles in his life to go fight a literal demon and save the world. So that is classic fantasy at its finest, and we're trying to bring it back for you guys, bring back the culture to something sane before everything was out of control here. So I'm going to leave this link in the description below if you want to check out a book and have some good reading. Please check this out. It's only $3.99. Appreciate everybody who does so. And of course, I've got all my other links in the description below if you want to support as well. Thank you guys so much for doing so. Okay, so the story of the day. Gosh, we saw it yesterday, and I was shocked. I was like, wait, is Kanye actually going on Tim Pool? This is wild. And just that fact by itself was a big controversy on the internet. Tim Pool said that a lot of people were telling him not to host this, not to allow Kanye on, not to platform him. And I'm glad he did because honestly, I don't like people being deplatformed for their views, people being deplatformed for free speech. It's not like Kanye's hurting anybody. He's being hurt more than anything. And that goes back to the way that Kim Kardashian, of course, handled this divorce and has been, trying to systematically, in my opinion, harm his life ever since then. But that's another story. On this, they started talking about this, and of course, Tim Pool, his format is always that, like, they want to cover the news, right? So we're going to talk about the news topics, and then at the end of it, we're kind of do a thing. It's not like a formal interview like we've seen with a lot of other channels. And Kanye redirected the conversation. Of course, he's quite an alpha guy. We know this. And redirected it towards, kind of what he wanted to talk about, of course, and that ended up being the Jewish media and things like that. So Tim Pool voiced his criticism of that and said, I don't judge people based on race. I don't judge people as a group. I try to judge them individually. And Kanye's like, well, here's the facts, though. Like, I mean, all of these people that have had these problems in my life are of a certain group. How do you parse that out? And that's a really great question. I mean, it is really difficult to parse things out like that overall, and you do have to make your own decisions on that. And that is just what it is. But what transpired out of this, when Tim Pool said that corporate media interests are trying to tear him down, they're trying to tear him down. Kanye says, "Who is they?" And that was kind of the impasse there. And it was very clear what Kanye meant, and Tim Pool knew this. And Kanye walked out on this, that this causes a rift within the right. It causes a rift within the culture war. And so I think the big losers of all of this, guys, is our side in the culture, because we look like fighting idiots over terminology. I hate to say it. I don't want to say that. But that's what it looks like we are at this juncture. It looks like we are going to turn on each other, walk out on each other, not support each other over terminology, over what's going on here. Now, it's very easy to, of course, fight corporate interests. It's very easy to fight big Disney, big government, and things like that. But when you get into the minutia of the terminology of like who's at the head of these companies and all that, you can look at that, but you also have to convince the centrists, the middle, the normal people. We do. This is true. And so it has to be something that like we all like need to figure out what our agreements are and focus on our agreements and not our disagreements. That's very important. And I feel like both these men like had an inability to do that. Maybe it's because of ego. I don't know. But at the end of the day, our entire cultural movement is set back by this, and it's set back for a while. Another thing I think that's a big loss with this is I think that Trump loses out on this. Trump loses out on this because, of course, this sort of storming out just adds to the chaos of what's going on around Trump recently. And I don't think that looks good for the campaign and looks good for what's going on for 2024 either. People will remember this. This is something that's not going to be forgot very easily. Now, I do think that even with my criticism of we need to come together and all that, I still think Tim Pool wins the general public opinion in this. I think Tim Pool, a lot of people watch this who would not watch that otherwise and go, you know what, that guy, he said some kind of reasonable things. And I think he does come out ahead on this. I think Kanye loses out on this. I think him walking off of this, which is a pretty friendly atmosphere. I feel like the people around there do respect Kanye and actually do want to hear his message and actually do want to help him get it out. At least to some degree, as far as Christian nationalism goes and things like that. So I think he loses out on that front. I think Milo Yiannopoulos wins on this front because Milo raised his public profile again. He's been out of the news for a long time and he's back. I think that's a big deal for him. I think Nick Fuentes kind of loses on this front because he really didn't come across as anybody who said anything on the show at all. He kind of just sat there in the background and kind of nobody knew who he was, and that was it. So he didn't really utilize the Tim Pool platform to its greatest extent on that level. And I think Ron DeSantis is probably the big winner here, guys, because Ron DeSantis just didn't do anything, is staying back, watching this happen, and he is almost the presumptive nominee outside of Trump at this point. And because all of that's in chaos, and there's still a long time left, guys, of course, I just think that he ends up coming out ahead on this. So that's my thoughts. Now, you can agree, disagree. You can tell me what you think about this. I'd love to hear from you guys. But it was wild, and I'm not particularly happy about this. Like I said, I want all of these men to succeed. I think Kanye has a good Christian heart. I think he's in a lot of pain also, and I think he's trying to process a lot of that in public, which of course never works out so great when you're trying to process pain in public, I don't think. I like Tim Pool, and I think, I wish that maybe there was some way that conversation could have been managed a little better so that, of course, we could have our side kind of more in agreement. And I like Milo. I think he's great. I don't really know Nick Fuentes all that well, so I don't know, but that's my thoughts. Oh, gosh. It's just a weird feeling. I want to feel good, but I can't. And that's sad to me. All right. Leave a comment down below with what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Of course, I'm interested in your opinions. I'm not just trying to dictate to you. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate your intelligence. I think we have a more intelligent audience than most of YouTube, and it's really appreciated. Hit the like and subscribe button. Of course, we are very close to 10K subscribers. Thank you so much for building this over the years. And check out The Demon's Eye, my new novel, right now. Thanks, my friends. I'll see you soon.